Hello and welcome to the first episode of The Voyage. If you haven't caught the very first video, I'm calling it episode 0. I will post a link in the description or underneath the video. In this series I intend to cover some tactics, some techniques, and really what's going in and what is being talked about in the Sto community and world. First, right now I'm on the Tribble server, and my last video covered the tour of the Tholians and the Starbases. In this one I'm going to show you one of the changes to the character selection screen. Well, 2 changes, and then show you how to contribute to the fleet by using fleet marks or some other form of currency, and I will try to show you how to acquire fleet marks through Officer of the Watch, and if I'm capable of doing it, getting into a fleet action mission. Alright, at the character select screen you'll notice almost nothing is different unless you're really keen at looking. The only real difference right now is the fleet is displayed underneath your character name. Well, my Klingon on Tribble is not in a fleet. But another cool, interesting thing that they did is your character now transports out of the title screen. And I'll do that when I select this character. Here's how we contribute to Fleet Starbase projects. You probably noticed that it just came up without me clicking anything. One real quick tip to do is Control-G will bring up this menu. I'm a keyboard-oriented person, so you'll occasionally just see dialog boxes pop up without me coming over here to find them. Because honestly, I don't know how to pull up the mini-map. I mean, the bigger map from the mini-map. I'm pretty sure it's insanely simple, but I always hit the M button. Alright, to contribute, first thing is when you'll go into overview. I almost never do anything in overview because it doesn't give you enough information. I go into holdings, and this gives you, oh look, we've got 1,000 Starbase XP. We can build Starbase Tier 1. We have Tier 1 military, and so on and so on, and it displays here. And if you click, say I want to know how far engineering goes, because I'm an engineering officer. Oh look, I need 10,000, sorry, my fleet needs 10,000 Starbase engineering experience points to get that. I'll have another video on leveling up your Starbase in the future, but it's actually fairly simple to contribute to Fleet Starbase projects. And for anybody that's wondering, these projects are actually selected by somebody that has permission to set them up in that particular fleet. And all that pretty much is it allows them to manage what goes in here. So if you're in a fleet and your rank happens to allow you to manage this, and somehow you're able to change it, when it goes over to Tribble, I will see what permissions when this gets rolled over into holodeck later this week, because yes, it is looking like it's this week. If you've noticed, holodeck has been what's called pre-patching. When you close the game out, it'll pull up a patching window. That's common right before a major patch is released. When we click on any of these projects right here, you will actually see what is needed in each of these projects. And you see dilithium, this requires 10,000 points. I believe I contributed about 2,000 to, well, I don't know if it's this project or not. Expertise, this is what your bridge officer points are now known as. And of course you got little commodities like water purification systems. It wasn't this one because I had to give 200 out, but I've actually bought everything for one of the water purifications and just dumped them all in there. I know somebody who's donated over 1,000 provisions just to a fleet project. And of course, you'll have contribute if it's not filled. I have no fleet marks, so let's see what's in. Nope. I have no fleet marks, so everything else is already filled. As you can also see, it also takes duty officers, and it will tell you this requires a common duty officer, which is a white, or this requires an uncommon duty officer, which is green. A word of warning. When you contribute a duty officer to a fleet project, you will not get that duty officer back. But in my opinion, most of the time it rewards you very well for it. White, I can't remember, but I think you get 250 fleet credits right here for each white officer, and 750 for each green duty officer. But right now we need to get fleet marks, which is a new form of currency, if you want to call it that, in the game. Colony invasion, Starbase fleet defense, no-win scenario, Federation Starbase blockade, Federation fleet alert, and Federation Starbase incursion. Now, anybody who's known me in this game long enough will know I do not like ground combat in this game. Even though I have worked it out, and if you take the magic out of any MMO game, it's got similar ground combat to this game. Let's run through them. I'll do the space first, top to bottom, and then I'll do the two grounds. I'll tell you about the two grounds. The first one, we have the big one, which is Starbase Fleet Defense. As you can see right here, it takes a minimum of 15 people, and it will group you into teams of 5. I have seen private matches with 20 people in them, but what happens is you have a starbase, and around the starbase you have 4, you have like a shipyard, communications, science lab, and a transwarp gate. I'll show you them when I go into fleet map. But your goal is to defend all 5 of them, you and your team. Wave 1, the enemy attacks the 4 outermost areas. My recommendation for that, if you have just 15 players, is to pick one to sacrifice. And then go fight them, and then try to save that last piece. And in wave 2, you have to go back into your starbase and fight a massive invasion there. And then you go once again back out to the outskirts. And then you come back in. It sounds tricky and tedious, but it's actually really fun. The no-win scenario. Anybody who's familiar with any of the Star Trek movies, well, I can't say any, but if you've watched the new Star Trek movie, Star Trek 11, you'll be familiar with a test called the Kobayashi Maru. It's a test in which Captain James T. Kirk rigged so that he would win it, because he does not believe in a no-win scenario, and I'll answer him in a minute. But what actually happens is you have a team of 5 people. You have to defend this freighter against waves of attacks, and these waves just keep coming, and they keep coming, and according to the devs, it's never ending. I've personally made it to wave 5. I've heard of people making it to wave 6. And, so far it's just wave 6 I've heard of. People may have made it more, and I just not heard of it. Alright, I'll take a little bit of a break to see what my fleet is up to, and I'll come right back to you. Alright, next up is Federation Starbase Blockade. This one is... the first time I played it was in incredibly bad. I think I only got about 5 fleet marks from it. But yesterday I played it and got 37 fleet marks. It's a 15-minute run. You have freighters trying to come to your starbase to stock up, but they get intercepted by... It's usually each of these missions have a randomly generated bad guy. I have fought the Feklari. As the Federation, I have fought the Feklari. The Klingons, the Orions. I have heard of people fighting the Tholians. The only race I have not heard of, well, 2 races I have not heard of showing up here is the True Way, which is the Cardassians, and the Romulans or Remans. The Federation Fleet Alert. It's, again, on the same map. You defend your starbase. The only difference is you only have to defend your starbase. You don't have to defend none of the outer areas. Against 8 groups of attackers. They come in I want to say 3 different waves, followed by a command group. I think it's called a siege wave. That's really fun. It's usually really quick. It's a timed mission. Now for the ground combat. Now, like I said, everybody that knows me knows that I cannot stand the ground combat in this game. I do love both of these missions. Colony invasion, you're down on a colony. You have to defend it against 8 groups of attackers. And right around, I think it's 8 or 9. And right around the last wave, you have to fight this giant Montango pet, I think. It's called Mook. Yeah, he's actually really fun. It's a really fun mission. I fought the Klingons, mostly. I've actually fought the Klingons and the Tholians on the ground mission. And then Federation Starbase Incursion. The Starbase Incursion, the scenario is invaders have invaded your starbase. They've beamed into a specific area. I think it's the same every time. I think it's in your cargo bay and they wind up getting locked in there. You and a team of 5 people have to go in there and kill these guys who are also trying to sabotage your starbase, and they're capable of doing it from the cargo bay. It's a 3-wave event. Wave 1, you can pretty much go off by yourself and do it. Wave 2 is the saboteurs are heavily defended by... The last time I did it, it was the Goran, so, well, the only time I did it, I was fighting the Goran. So they had thugs defending them. They were literally to the point that it required 5 people on one group to do it. And then you have the command group, which is the boss fight. They're all behind a force field. You have to do something to get the force field dropped. And then you fight them. It is a difficult fight there, but again, it's also doable. Another little interesting website right here, which one of my fleet mates posted, is to go to stowiki.org/upcoming content. I will post a link in the video description or underneath the video. To that website. Another cool way to get it is to fight the Tholians on Nukara Prime. Another way to get it is through a non-combat fleet mission. I will go there, show you that, and I will also show you the map of the fleet. For the little fleet defense systems, mainly the big fleet, here are the outer areas, the bases. You have the transwarp conduit here. I believe this is the shipyard. This is the communications array. And I want to call this the science array, but I have a feeling that's going to be wrong.